Good morning and happy Tip Tuesday. And every Tuesday, I bring you Tip Tuesday, which is tips about organizing your home, business, and life. Good morning. My name is Lorraine Brock. I am the owner of Get Organized. I'm a professional organizer, family coach, and speaker. And today on Tip Tuesday, we're going to be talking about kids' chores. I have raised three young men, or who are now young men. And I can tell you, I have wholeheartedly invested and believe in kids' chores. I think it was really ingrained in me as a young child about the importance of chores. I grew up nearby where I live today in a city called Garland in Texas, and I lived in a residential area, and right around the corner of our home was a vacant lot. It was a complete housing area, but it was a vacant lot. And my dad had purchased the lot and used it as a garden. So you can imagine the garden was pretty massive because a house could have been built on there, and the yard was substantially large in addition. And he would take actually his tractor and drive it down the street to that vacant lot and to till it or to plow it. And I remember thinking how much work it was going to be for me once I saw that tractor. I can remember it. And I was definitely responsible for having lots of chores. So part of my chores were gardening. So when my dad went to go do the garden and plow, I would be in charge of planting the seeds and hoeing and sometimes, packing it down, spreading fertilizer sometimes. I even had to go pick green beans and radishes and corn. I mean, I was really developing skills, to be honest with you, and a confidence level that I really did not realize that was happening. That was outside of the home, like in the garden. What additionally happened was my mom, and I had two older brothers that were 10 and 12 years older than me. And by the time I got to be responsible for a lot of chores like the gardening and such, I was, anywhere from 8 to 12 years old. And I do remember having really larger chores at home. For example, I was in charge of mowing the entire yard. I was in charge of washing the dishes, unloading the dishwasher. I did all the laundry in the house. At this time, my two brothers were out, so it was just my mom, my dad, and me. I was in charge of ironing. You would think that it was child labor, and believe me, I complained. There is no doubt I was not a happy camper all the time. So I would whine and try to weasel out of it sometimes, but it became, these chores were routine. And I had certain days that they had to be done, or there was consequences. And I know that I received consequences for not doing them right or having a bad attitude. But ultimately, the chores that I were responsible for really built in me a confidence level that I didn't know was being built. Like, I'm capable of doing this and doing it well. It was creating a knowledge in me that I was going to use in my adult life with my own home. I really thought at times that I just wanted to run away from those chores. Like, it was something miserable for me. I remember getting in trouble many a times for not doing them. But I do believe that there was such a value in it that my parents knew at the time, but that I did not know at the time, that was going to serve me well as an adult. So today we're going to be talking about kids' chores. I wrote an article, I think it was back in like 2009 or 2010. It was for the Dallas Morning News. And the article basically stated that by teaching children chores and responsibilities now, you make them better spouses for the future. And I wrote that article, and another media outlet picked up on it somewhere in, I think, the States, maybe Australia too. I don't exactly know who picked up on it. They asked me to do some Q&A with them on that particular article because it was sort of a revelation to them. Like, wow, I never thought of about chores being something that's going to help them be a better spouse. But the truth is, often we see sometimes when we go into our clients' homes that there is a disconnection between who's doing what and when they're doing it. And that could be with the children. It could be with the adults in the home. It's a variation or a mix of all of that. So I believe that when you have young children at home, that you need to start teaching them chores and getting everybody some responsibilities around the house. I think it's actually really critical. My confidence level as far as an individual is extremely high. I don't think I'm braggadocious or, my head is too large. I'm really confident when I know something, and I know a little about a lot because I was exposed to things, made to do things that I can tell you, how to get rid of red spiders on tomato plants, or what to put on the lawn for this, or how to fix a water sprinkler head, because I was made to do those things as a child. And it ended up being that I used them in my adulthood. That sort of makes me a little bit, I don't want to say handy, but I can do a lot of things, a lot of little things well. And it's one of the things that I think would be good for building in all of our children. So early on when we decided to have children, and my children now, I have 3 boys. I have a 26-year-old that's married with 3 kids. And I have a 24-year-old still at home in college. He's got half semester or a semester left. And then I have a 22-year-old that actually is due back from deployment this week. So we're really excited about that. He has been serving over in Africa, and he's going to be coming back home and finishing his education before he goes into his career. So in all of the situations with our boys, I knew that when they were young, I wanted to start them with some chores that would build their confidence, but also help out around the house. I did not consider chores making your bed and brushing your teeth. That's sort of taking care of your own space. So when I'm talking about chores today, I'm talking about actual things that they do that contributes to the house, to the team, to the entire household of people that's in there. And that means helping me, helping mom, helping dad, helping grandma, whoever lives in the home. They just need to do more than what benefits themselves. So early on, I created a chore chart or chore system, should I say, because it was a system that allowed my children to be able to know what chores that they had and keep it on a consistent basis. Because if you change the chores every day, or you come to mom and dad and say, what am I doing today? They can't build a memory of what they do. It needs to almost become second nature. Hey, today I have to do X, Y, Z. So I wouldn't just say, hey, I have them do random things. Actually create a system. So I'm going to be going in depth a little bit today we have 4 tips today on Tip Tuesday. And we're going to be talking about these a little bit more on an expanded note. Also, another question that gets asked to me is digital charts, like electronic chore charts and apps, versus visual ones, like paper ones or ones that you can put on a board. There's really no right or wrong, but it is often hard for the child to see what they have to do if it's on an application or software or website that you have access to. And if the child had access to one, they would have to have some kind of digital device you'd want them to get on and to be able to manage that. I did not want my kids to have cell phones till they're like 5th grade, and even like later. Some of ours didn't even get until 13 or 16 when they started driving. I know that's changed a little bit now, but I still would not give my child access to a cell phone in early elementary age for the most part. Obviously, there's special circumstances. But with that said, if your child doesn't have a cell phone, then you're really going to have to go with something more visual for them, even if it might be something for you. Maybe there's a tablet that they could work on, or a community computer in the house. But again, it's not visual. They have to actually go into some place and look. So it may not work for them. Just keep that in mind. So let's get started on our tips, and we're going to expand on each one of them. So tip number 1, Decide on what chores you would like your kids to do. What we have created, and I'd be happy to share this with anybody if anybody wants to message us down below, and I'm going to try to take some comments today. If you have any questions about this, let me know. But you want us first, before you do any kind of chore system and set it up, you want to decide on what you want them to do. We've created this a document here that we have had for many years. It really is a document we share with our clients, but more than happy to share with you guys. And it's an age-appropriate chore list. And it starts from age 2 and 3 and goes all the way up to 13 through 17. Obviously, by the age of 13 to 17, somewhere during that time frame, majority of the kids, unless there's special circumstances, are going to be pretty much able to do everything. If you teach them and show them well, I always say don't do it for them, do it with them. And I'll give you an example. On here it says like mowing the yard could be something between 9 and 12 or 11 and 17. It depends on how responsible your child is. But you want to get them trained on what it means to mow the yard. When we started this process, you could look in the yard when my kids had did it versus my husband. Definitely was a noticeable difference. And that's just part of that learning. We would look out the back window and there would be mohawks all in the yard, just strips of grass that were not done. So we come up with, hey, an inspection before you turn off the mower and put it up. Let us sort of walk through that with you to make so train you where you missed your stuff and how not to. So we had to go, when you go down the strips with a lawnmower and you turn it around, don't just turn around the grass because you're going to make the wheels loose. You actually have to lift up the front part and turn it on the back wheels. And then you want to get slightly over on the strip that you just cut. Get your mower a little bit over so you don't have those mohawks. We had to teach that. So we spent approximately 2 years teaching all of our boys how to mow, and some of them even learned how to weed eat. They worked as a team to get the lawn done. I remember my oldest, which you'll probably watch this if not his wife. I remember he's like, my allergies, I'm aggravated. My allergies are bothering me. I'm out there. I'm like, I understand that. You're going to have to get a mask or allergy medicine and take it way beforehand, because eventually one day, most likely, you're going to have to mow your own yard, and those allergies can't play a role. A lot of times when you're starting out, you don't have the money to hire someone. So it was interesting to see them work through this process of these roadblocks in their mind of why they couldn't do something. And that training period took about 2 years, and eventually, safety and all, they learned it and was able to independently mow the yard themselves. And what time did that free up between my husband and the responsibilities that he had? So tip number 1 is decide on what chores you want your kids to do. This document will definitely help you sort of filter out what chores might be important to you. You could probably make your own list, but for example on here is who's in pick up the poop in the backyard for the dog? Who's responsible for that? Or maybe you have socks that need to be matched in the house. Who's responsible for that? They may not do the laundry, but they can sure match the socks. So this sort of vets a lot of ideas of what you may implement in your home or give responsibility to each child to take over. And I will tell you, our 24-year-old that's still at home in college, he has sock responsibility right now. And he's been doing that since his brother's been gone on deployment. And it's his responsibility. He had to sort of shift, take on some more responsibilities. That still is in place, even if he's 24-year-old in our home, because he lives here. He's a contributor to the family, and therefore he needs to have responsibilities. So make sure you come up with that list first before you do anything else of what you want them to do. Tip number 2, decide on the frequency in which you want the chore to be done. This is really going to be up to you. Do you want the chore to be done weekly, monthly? Do you want it to be done daily? What does that look like? And that's going to completely depend on your schedule and their schedule. Sometimes we have clients that say, well, we are too busy during the weekday to do anything between youth group and church ministries and baseball practice or football. We just can't get in some chores in the afternoon. No problem. Then schedule them on the weekend, but make sure it's clear that the weekend responsibilities have to be done in many cases before the activities can be done, or at least schedule it. Say, hey, we got something on Saturday morning. That means we're going to come back Saturday afternoon and do all of the chores. Make sure even a good family meeting once a week to sort of figure out where that slot would be, especially if it's on the weekend, because you are limited in time on the weekend, and you can sort of designate when those chores are going to be done, and everyone has some realistic expectations. Because what happens is you get busy and they forget about them, or you forget about them, or you push them off because you're tired, and then this roller coaster of responsibilities never gets done. And I guarantee you, as a parent myself, if you overlook them doing their chores on a regular basis and there's no consequences, then they will continue that behavior. So you really want to really establish a routine and stick to it. Don't let a lot of things get in the way. And if there is something that comes up, I mean, I have grace and I have mercy. I realize that, but many times it's like they totally forget about it versus saying, hey, can I do this? Instead of it being done Saturday morning, Mom and Dad, can I do this, Sunday afternoon? Would that be okay? Have them start being able to come to you and sort of readjust that schedule to get it done. Make them responsible for this task. Another thing on what chores you want, I'm going to go back to tip number 1 just for a second because I had a great thought. On tip number 1 was decide on what chores you'd like your kids to do. When your kids get older, I recommend doing a significant responsibility change for them. Meaning, instead of just the basic household responsibilities, add a significant one. For example, it could be maybe they take over one night a week on cooking dinner, or maybe it's Saturday night. I don't know. Just pick something. Maybe it's they're taking over trimming all the hedges outside, or they're responsible for making sure all the cars are inspected and insured. I mean, you think that's really strange, but it teaches them something to be responsible for, and it allows something to be taken off your plate as well. So find a significant responsibility for when the kids get older, maybe 14, 15, 16 on up, depending on their capabilities. So tip number 2 is decide on the frequency in which you want the chores done. We in our home did Monday through Friday chores. We did not do chores on the weekends. And the reason being is our schedule allowed for that. I was a stay-at-home mom, and my kids decided that they didn't want to work on weekends. We had like a family meeting, and they said, I just want to have the weekends off. And I said, no problem. That means Monday through Friday, when you come home from school during the school year, you have responsibilities. And that ended up being better. And many of the times, during the times that we organized our chore system, they asked for the lighter load, the lighter responsibility to be on a Friday so they can start the weekend even sooner. And I was more than happy to oblige and create the chore system like this. It was totally fine. I worked with them. I gave them the boundaries. And I said, you choose what you want within those boundaries. And it made it for a much smoother process in getting the chores organized. So if you have a comment down below, list a comment about kids' chores. I'll try to answer it as I am going. So let's talk about tip number 3. Have pre-planned consequences. This is really something that most people dish out consequences for when they're frustrated, when they're aggravated, when they're upset that their child has not done the chore well, took shortcuts, they have an attitude, they're not doing them at all after they have been told or asked. So I think you need to have consequences up front. I think this allows for them not to say, well, you didn't tell me this. Well, I'm telling you now, here's the consequences. And creatively enough, I think we've came up with some really interesting ones. So we do provide a consequences for kids document that we're more than happy to share with you as well. And each household has to determine what their consequences are, whatever's appropriate for your family. In this case, I have someone that's listed on here, extra responsibilities. And it could be an earlier bedtime or limiting computer time or phone time. There's a variation of things it could be. There's both positive and negative reinforcement in the consequences. But I am extremely serious that if you don't follow through with consequences, you will become an enabler for their poor performance. And that is just something, it's easy to sit down and not address it with your children. And I really wanted to say, I nip it in the butt every time. I'm really good. And my kids hated it. They didn't like it, but it made them very successful in taking care of their own rooms and in my oldest son, his own home. So these are very great life skills that they're going to build. Now we talked about a consequence. One of the consequences I want to share with you that I used is called a chore jar. And this chore jar is not our original chore jar because it broke almost the last year we were using it. But so I have bought a new chore jar, but the actual chores inside here are actually the same ones that we had. So what I did, I just created in a Word document different types of chores. Now, these chores are over and above what's on their chore list. They're over and above the daily things. These are things like that I really just didn't want to do myself. And if the kids so happen to have a problem or a misbehavior or a lack of doing their responsibilities, they would have to go in and draw in the chore jar. So this particular one right here, and I put all kinds of age appropriate ones. So if I had a younger son that drew one he couldn't do, I just have him redraw again. So this one says, clean kitchen chairs with wood cleaner. Now notice I didn't say clean the entire table and wooden cabinets. I broke it down into sections to make it doable. So they would get out probably the Murphy wood cleaner, and they would go to all of our 6 kitchen chairs where they have had spilt milk and food, I'm sure, dropped and splatters, and they would have to go clean that. That's something I don't do every day, definitely not even every month, maybe once every couple of years, just saying. Okay, so here's another one. Clean front of shower door. So this is something in here that I wanted them to do. Scrub on how to get scum off. That was one of them. Another one is clean white cabinets in my bathroom. So my bathroom had white cabinets, and it could have been their cabinets, but these were in my bathroom. And again, you may drop or splatter water or get soap or dust or whatever's on them, and they had to do these. There's all kinds of different chores in here, but these were extra over and above. And most of the time they had to get this from lack of doing their other chores well, or they could have gotten them from poor behavior or an attitude. I just used it as a consequence jar, but at the same time, it taught them a domestic skill. And remember I said earlier in our episode, I said chores actually build confidence in children, and that confidence goes over with them to adulthood. I was probably the most made fun of kid in all of my elementary. Well, let me tell you, I was probably the second most. We had a young boy that was my age in elementary, and we too were made fun of. We were always the ones that were picked last. We were the ones that, I remember getting into the camera to take a school picture, and they go, Lorraine's going to break the camera. And lo and behold, when the pictures came, my picture was the only one that didn't get taken because something happened and they had to do a retake. And it just reinforced everything that those kids were saying. I don't know, outside of the grace of God and maybe my parents implementing chores and responsibilities, I don't know how I came up with such a confident spirit. I don't know, because I was always picked on. Didn't have a lot of friends and was made fun of. No one wanted me on their, Red Rover. It just didn't happen. So again, chores do help build responsibilities. It shows them that they can do it, They can do a well done job with it, and they get praise from those that they're doing the work for. And that combination, I'm sure with other things, lifts up that child's confidence and makes them going to be a better adult and be able to get through life even more successfully. So we talked about pre-planned consequences, including drawing from the chore jar, and creative ways where you can get them to do other things that will help out around the house or be a discipline, positive and negative reinforcement for not having the chores done or poor attitude or a variation of things. I wanted to mention on tip number 4, not really a resource, but a website. It'd be good, more of a website. Because what we did here was I wanted to come out with you guys a little bit of where do you get your chores from? What angle do you get your chore charts from, and how do you manage those? So tip number 4 is a couple of resources, and I'm going to talk about those. Is you can go online and do any kind of searching for any kind of free printable chore chart. Highly recommend that. If you're doing printable, remember it's going to be visual. And they're going to be able to go and see it. You may even put up 2 or 3 of them, especially from these free printable websites. You can put one in their room, maybe one in the bathroom, one in the kitchen, maybe on a cupboard door so they can sort of see what they're doing. Keep in mind that when you say go clean the bathroom, what does that actually mean? Like, what is cleaning the bathroom? So you're going to need to make a list of what things you want them to touch in the bathroom. Empty the trash can, Windex the mirrors, shower door, sweep and mop. What does it look like? Does that mean cleaning the outside of the toilet or just the inside of the toilet? Does that mean changing towels? So you're going to have to determine, again, age appropriate, what you mean by cleaning an area. And again, do it with them, not for them, a couple times so they can get the idea of what you're looking for. So the websites that I want to mention are 2. One is housefairy.org. Now, housefairy.org has been around a very long time. It is a grandmother that basically started a website to motivate manners and being responsible for chores. It used to be like $1 or $2. There is some pricing options now that are higher than that. I don't believe that there's an app. I do believe it's all web-based. So the idea of it is the tooth fairy. The tooth fairy leaves you money under your pillow for your good tooth versus a tooth that maybe had a cavity in it. You won't get so much. So the idea is that they leave, the house fairy leaves you gifts based on, or little trinkets based on your performance of doing your responsibilities and obviously your manners or behavior. So check that out. It's a great resource. I used it for many clients early on. I know that there are a lot of apps out there now. So for those older kids that may have phones, I don't recommend this if they're younger and don't have phones. You might want to check out homeroutines.com. They do have an app, but I think the app is only for the Apple phone. I don't think they make it for the Android, but check it out. This is definitely a very organized app. It allows you to set up responsibilities like morning, afternoon, and evening. There's a lot of apps out there that are just fun and interactive, and they're sort of one-dimensional. This one is extremely more organized. So I think you'll be able to incorporate a lot more routines and not just chores as well, like maybe make your bed, brush your teeth, that kind of stuff in there that's actually not chores. And you could do it all with this app called homeroutines.com and check that out. So, all right, well, let's get on. I think that's all we're going to talk about for chores today. If you are interested in the consequence document or the age appropriate chores for kids, let me know and leave a comment down below, and I'll be more than happy to get that to you, message you a copy of that, and share it. I'm more than happy for you to share it. It really is a great starting point of what you can do with kids' chores, how frequently you want them, the consequences, and age-appropriate chores. Just love it. You know, sort of what your kids can do at what age. All right, so chores. We're going to talk about giving away what we gave away last week. Yes. So last week, we were giving away this Quick Peak Smart Storage System. And it's basically a whole lot of labels that you put on boxes and you take a picture of what's in the box. And you can put it in your garage, your attic, you can put it in storage. It doesn't have to be a box, it could be a tub, a tote. And when you're ready to look at what you have in the box, you can go on your app and it will show you everything in that box on the app. And it's like a digital scanning coding system. Great for moving as well, or if you have a remote storage unit. But like I said, attics will go great. This week, Melba Pryor won this. So Melba, congratulations. We're going to be sending this thin little piece of all the little labels to you here this week. And thank you for leaving a comment down below. Melba won that because she left a comment down below last week, and she was a name that was chosen. Hello, Kathleen. And yes, we will send you both the chore and consequence document. Just message us privately and include your address or your email address in that, and we will send that out to you and you can use it. And if you have any questions, let us know about it. Okay, so let's talk about the giveaway that we're going today. Now, I don't have a picture of the giveaway. I actually forgot it to print it out. So I'm a little disorganized. I know. I'm not perfect. So what we're giving away this week, I think it's like a 12 by 17 chalkboard chore chart. And it comes with a chalkboard marker. And you can mount it on the wall and you can write your kids' names and the days of the weeks and what chores that they're doing. And that was going to be sent from you from Amazon. So if you leave a comment down below this week of which tip you liked, and we're talking about, we had 4 tips this week. What tip did you like the most? You'll be entered to win that chalkboard chore chart. And we'll announce you next Tuesday on Tip Tuesday on what you won or who won it. All right, so let's talk about our Tip Tuesdays tool. So every week we have a Tip Tuesday tool of the week, and it's a tool that normally I've either come about or found in a store or used myself or we use with clients. And this week we've actually used this in a few clients, but most of the time I see it in the stores. I haven't used it actually for a particular client of mine, but I know our organizers have. So I don't even know how to pronounce this name, and I know it's backwards, but I'm going to spell it for you. It's RIMFORSA. It is a product from IKEA. And you would think it's sort of like a recipe stand. Well, not many of us anymore use recipe books, but you could use it that way. And what I like about this is you can set this on your kitchen counter. And if your kids are needing you to go over spelling words with them, or you're reading a book, or you're going over quiz questions, or even just a simple paper, you can just set it just like that on your kitchen countertops. And if your hands are dirty, you just bring your hands in here and move it to where you're going to be moving in the kitchen. You don't have to have kids to use this, but it is a really cool organizing product that keeps things setting up facing you when you're busy and your hands are busy doing other things in the kitchen. Papers, books, tablet, even if you're reading like a Kindle, it can sit right here and you can see it if you need to have a stand for it. And again, if your hands are messy, just put your arm right in there and move it, set it down, and take your hand right out. So anyway, I like this. It's at IKEA. I know it's $10 or under, so check out that. It's in their kitchen department at IKEA in Frisco is where I found it. So awesome. All right. So let's talk about the next thing. Next week on Tip Tuesday, we're going to be talking about organizing a picnic. I was fixing to say picture. We're not organizing a picture. So yes, Marcia, see your comment down below. We will definitely send you out a consequence document. If you'll message us with your email address, we will get that mailed out to you probably today, emailed out to you. So next week, we're going to be talking about organizing a picnic. I love picnics. So my last picnic, outside of doing one very frequently with my grandchildren, I'm a big picnic person. I did one with my husband last October. We actually went out to our private property in East Texas, and I planned a surprise picnic, and I'll tell you all about it next week on Tip Tuesday. But we're going to be talking about some products that are really good to have on hand if you're a big picnic person and you want to do more of it. Oh, it's beautiful weather. Then I want to tell you some products that I love and I think are must have for picnics, and a few things you might want to do with your picnic to stay organized. So we're going to talk about that next week on Tip Tuesday. Okay, so lastly, before we get to the very last thing, we're going to talk about some things about Get Organized. Each week I try to give you guys something a little bit about Get Organized and want to sort of read to you what our clients have said or what our organizers have said as well. So periodically our organizers find things in clients' homes that they're missing. And the clients have thought they've been completely lost. Maybe they've rebought it, or maybe they, in some cases, might have already claimed it on insurance, thinking something is lost. And it's amazing what our organizers find. This is the last week I'm going to share. I've been sharing over the last 3 or 4 weeks different things our organizers has found in clients' homes as they're organizing that has just made our clients' day. And really, in some cases, paid for our services because they lost things that were so valuable. So today I wanted to finish this up with just a few more things that our organizers had sent in, some things that they had found. So one client, they had found a diamond ring she had lost. She had looked everywhere and was very excited when they had found it. Have no idea the value, but a diamond nonetheless. So another organizer wrote in that she had found an Apple Watch for her client. They had filed it on insurance. She donated her couch to a donation site. And when they went to go move it, the organizers had lifted it up to move it, they said. It fell out. And we were actually handling the move for them. And that's what fell out of the couch when they moved it around. So that was interesting, an Apple Watch, and she had filed it on insurance. The other people had said they had lost cash, checks, and jewelry over the years. And they have found just cash, checks, and jewelry at many clients' homes over the years. And that was of obviously value. I think I had mentioned this a couple of weeks ago that we had some clients that were, I think, celebrating like their 25th anniversary. And as soon as I started organizing their living room, they had all these greeting cards or happy anniversary cards stuffed in drawers. And I started opening them up because, organizers look at things before they throw them out. If your organizer's good. Not just old greeting cards. And I started looking at these greeting cards and making a decision if we needed them or not based on what was written on them, who they were from. And I would say a large percentage of those greeting cards had checks in them and cash. And she was like, I never cashed them, but it had been too long probably, but the cash was still good. The money spent. And so anyway, it's amazing. She probably paid for half her day's service that day just from the amount of money that we found in cash. So it pays to organize. Alrighty, so today we talked about kids' chores, and we are giving away a chalkboard organizer. It's like a wall-mounted, I think it's 12 by 17 chalkboard chore chart. You get to write your names, your kids, your chores you want them to do. And it does come with at least one chalkboard marker. I do know that. So if you are interested in winning that, and we'll announce the winner next Tuesday on Tip Tuesday, leave a comment down below of which of the 4 tips that you liked on getting your kids organized for doing chores. And I left you some really practical things to think about. I want to leave you with just the statement again, do the chores with them, not for them to start with, so they know how to properly do it, and have consequences set up. And I'm going to give you a few if you ask for the document, but it's imperative if you don't, they're just going to think there's no consequence for poor performance. And whatever that might be, you decide for your household. But I will tell you, it has built a confidence level in me, and I could contribute the confidence level to many things, but I can definitely say that chores were one of them. I hated it. I argued. I got in trouble. I got grounded for my attitude, but they turn out right. At least I hope I'm right. They turn out okay, but it takes consistent consistency, parents, to get those chores and those kids to do those chores and get them done. And that's our role as parents. So anyway, a very deep subject, and I definitely might touch on kids' chores again because it is it's a work in progress for all of us. And so, keep it simple. Don't make a chore system so complicated that you can't follow through with it. Like a lot of young moms and dads will you get a sticker for every time you do this, and a check mark and a toy and a ticket, and oh my word, can you keep up with that? Especially if you have more than one child. I don't think so. Maybe a month. And then the chores falling off by the wayside again. So keep your chore system simple. Don't make it so complicated. So anyway, I am Lorraine Brock with Get Organized. Thank you for joining me on Tip Tuesday. And again, leave a comment down below of which tip you like the most for a chance to win the chalkboard chore chart that can go on your wall. I love it. It's cute. I probably would have used it now, but my kids are old enough now. They know what they're doing. So we'll see you next week on Tip Tuesday. I'm Lorraine Brock with Get Organized, and I love helping give you tips on everything to get you organized. Have a great day. Bye-bye.